Oh no. Oh guys, this is quite a big development. What's good, everyone? How you all doing? So I just got back, stepped in the house, and this was I checked my Twitter, and this was the first thing I seen. Shout out to Queen of Vulcans. Thanks for tweeting me this message. So wait, it didn't cut the story in 15 due to time constraints after all? Question mark. So I, of course, had to click that. Of course, Final Fantasy 15 story was cut due to time constraints, right? So I decided to give this a reedy-weedy. And, oh god, Tabata has put his foot in it, guys. He's put his foot in his damn mouth with this quote. And I'll just read it first. Final Fantasy 15 director Tabata wants a PC version with exclusive features like mod support. Like mod support. I don't like mod support. I'll tell you why I don't like it in a minute. But Tabata says, I'd like to release the game on PC as a technical attempt. And then it's the usual spiel about how high-end machines and PCs, they're going to be the things that realise Final Fantasy 15's true potential in a way that the PS4 couldn't. It was so limited. And I'm glad they're doing it. But the reason why I don't like mods, because they're even going to say that this is a particularly interesting wrinkle, as FF15 with its large open world and large swathes of unused world, it seems like a particularly fertile ground for potential mods. And Tabata even goes on to say that kind of stuff. We might remake playable areas in future expansions. We're thinking of Gralia at this point. The snowy areas that were cut. Tabata even gives an example. For argument's sake, if we were to prepare new fields, Insomnia would be a candidate. Oh, that would be so awesome. Insomnia would be so awesome. But that would take a year's worth of work. Now, I did say that. I think the DLC for 15 really could last over a year. So there's kind of support for that. But Insomnia would be a candidate. I hope he means for story. Because this is the thing, guys. If they're going to use those unused areas, I don't want it to be, as it says here, a shit show for mods. I don't want it to be just an absolute derp fest for people to have their mods. Like making your own quests and enjoying the world. And the reason I don't like mods, I'll just explain why. I was recording a video just earlier today on is the J in JRPG dead? I spoke about it with a lot of you on the live stream. And before you answer is the J in JRPG dead in the comment section, let me do the video first. We won't discuss it here. I know that there's going to be a lot of people with strong emotions on that one. For sure, I'm going to trigger people. But in that video I talk about how so many Western elements crept into Final Fantasy 15. So many. It was a shit metric ton. I don't think most people realise just how much Western influence crept in, or perhaps you do. And to me, mod support is just another one of those things. Now you might be thinking, okay, why is that negative, Peasant? I'll save it for the other video. So this is just another one of those things. Mod support, that was something that was birthed in the West. That was something that we here in the West have really brought to fruition. So I'm not particularly pleased to hear that entering Final Fantasy 15. I don't think it's good for the identity of Final Fantasy. And before I get into the really controversial point, virtual reality content still in development, no news. Tabata's thinking about a way to cut down fast travel loading times. He'd like to allow players to travel more freely with the car in a future patch, but it's a difficult technical challenge. And then finally, the last point, Tabata realises that fans who had a priority on story were disappointed by the game. But there's also been a lot of positive feedback. Oh. So that's foot in the mouth number one. When someone poses you the question that people are disappointed by the story, you don't turn around and say, oh yeah, but there's been a lot of positive feedback. Address that issue. Which I don't know. I mean, they're not quoting what he's saying here, so I don't know. But the thing that really puts the foot in the mouth number two, this is a big number two. On the topic, Tabata was also fielded a question on the idea of content that had been cut from the game. Asked if story content was cut out for necessity, and he simply answered, not really. Oh, now when I read that, I instantly knew. I thought, oh fuck, Tabata, what have you done? What you done, mate? Tab. Because I went to the comment section straight away, and I knew it would look like this. I think I can't defend Tabata anymore. Where's the other one? Tabata, please change professions. Fuck you, Tabata. There's just a lot of hate. Fuck Tabata. And I knew that would happen. Now, before I jump in on this, I just want to say there's so many ways to interpret that not really. The obvious way is, so you didn't cut anything intentionally. You actually wanted to make the story look the way it looked. You wanted it to not have any fleshed out characters. That was intentional. You actually aimed for a historically low storyline content. Remember, guys, I think it was 21-hour average mainline completion. It hasn't been that low in 25 years of Final Fantasy. 25 years, guys. Now, there's a side to me that actually thinks that could be true. And I'll tell you why. In late 2015, Tabata said a quote that I was very scared of. And I said I was scared of it back then. And this is another reason why I'm saying the J and JRPG could be dead. JRPGs, I'll repeat this in the next video, they are typically the stories that have the really out there plot devices. I'm talking the time jumps, the paradoxes, the alternate realities. Look at 7 with the clones. Look at 8 with Squall actually being the one who goes. Adia tells Squall, then Squall goes back and tells Adia, and that forms Seed. And just look at 13. That was an absolute. And Japan loved that. I'll just say 13 was received hugely well in Japan. But why was it not received here? One of the biggest complaints is story. Convoluted story. Now, Final Fantasy 15, in late 2015, Tabata said that they were rewriting the story, and his aim was to make it a simplistic story. Simplistic stories are what go down here in the West. I'm not going to fucking insult the West, but I am going to insult the West. I'm sorry, but the fucking simpletons in the West who like their simple stories, and they really get turned off by the really out there plot devices. What makes a JRPG typically a JRPG? Now, Final Fantasy 15 was simplistic. I'm sorry, it was. It just was pretty easy to understand. I wasn't lost really at any part of that game. It was no more out there than any other Final Fantasy, yet convoluted is still a complaint I hear today about Final Fantasy 15. So perhaps that's what this quote is about. No, they didn't actually cut anything out of necessity. They actually did make the game this simplistic. Can't mean the other thing, that nothing was cut, because of course stuff was cut. Concepts were cut. 100%, I can name a million concepts that we have evidence of, that we've seen in trailer with our own damn eyes. Is irrefutable. I'm not talking about rumours, I'm not talking about articles, I'm talking about things we've seen in trailers, the public. Just one of the bazillion things I can think of, Luna's story. Luna, we saw with our own eyes that Lolly Luna was getting abused and thrown around by Caligo. We actually saw that. Caligo, another character who got no character development whatsoever. So what happened to that? Well, if Tabata is now saying that wasn't cut out of necessity, what was it cut for? Now we go back to my other video when I spoke about the SJWs, how there was this rumour that they were cutting loads of controversial things with Luna because they didn't want to put anything out there that could be perceived as problematic. They wanted to keep the age rating down. And yeah, they didn't want any, because there's been so much with Final Fantasy 15 mistreating its women and being sexist, that perhaps that's why they did it. Well, and a lot of people said, no, Peasant, it's due to time constraints that they cut that. Well, this kind of makes me think perhaps there was other reasons. And all the other things that got cut. I mean, I'm not going to go back as far as Versus 13 on the Crystals of Darkness and the eyes that see the soul, the light of waning souls, and all that really crazy out there Nova Crystallis stuff. I'm talking about the Star Scourge coming from the moon. And we saw that. I mean, we literally saw the Blood Moon and how that was going to go, and the flying demons, and how that got repurposed. Those demons were repurposed in another area. So there was rewrites in the story, and everything seems to allude that it was all just made a lot more simplistic, because you would think, surely you were going to explain Prompto and Vestel's story in more depth. Surely if you're now saying to us, oh yeah, we're going to add more story cutscenes in, like Ravis's motivations. Well, how could you have not added that at start? Surely it was time constraints, because you couldn't add it due to time constraints. That's why you're adding it as a free cutscene now. And this is why, before I go on the attack, I'm going to defend. Perhaps Tabata means That it wasn't cut out of necessity. It wasn't cut out of necessity because it was never done. And I did say this. I did say that Ravus' scene, I don't believe that anything would do with Ravus or any of these free cutscenes they're adding in. A lot of people saying, oh, so they took them out purposely just to sell us back to them later. I said, no, they're free cutscenes. So that implies that they never got round to doing them. And I said that they're going to bring in Ravus' voice actor, and they're going to bring in Amy Shields as Luna, and they're going to redo these. They're going to spend time, resources on creating new cutscenes. Nothing that was cut. So that's what Tabata could be meaning. Nothing was actually cut. Nothing was done and then cut out of necessity. Like, for example, the regions. They started developing those. The Grali areas, the Insomnia areas that we've seen with our own eyes were cut. So that would be something that was cut because it was made and it got cut. But if those scenes were never made, they were never cut. So you get me on that one. But I'm going to go back to the other option. And Tabata, I want to love you, man, but I can't defend you if this is true. If that other option, that you honestly made the story look this way intentionally, and I really just can't believe he did, that you purposely didn't explain Prompto being Vestel's father, if you purposely didn't explain who Eos was and the whole thing between the gods, if you honestly avoided all of those really complex plot devices that we started, you started teasing us in trailers, if the backstory of Luna, if you cut that, if you purposely didn't explain Ravus' motivations, if you purposely didn't want to show us clearly what happened in Tenebrae, and you didn't want to show us what happened with Niflheim and Iodolus, and you really did do all of the, everything that you teased us, you didn't put those in there because of time constraints. You just wanted to do, as you quoted in late 2015, wanted to make a simplistically presented story. I'm sorry you fucked up. I understand that Final Fantasy 13 and many Final Fantasies have had shit in the past from fucking Westerners because they can't follow a complex story. Because every Final Fantasy to this fucking day has Westerners complaining it's convoluted. And this is why I can see when they have made everything pander to the West with this. I'm telling you, this rage is going to continue in the J/JRPG video. Car fucking customizations. I'm not going to go into it. Power Ranger suits. And there's a fucking Power Rangers movie coming out. That's a fucking new one. All of these things you're adding because it's so clearly pandering to the West, which they have been. If you did do that simplistically presented story, and you did do it, not because it was necessary. Unfortunately, you've mistaken a simplistically presented story with you just didn't flesh out characters. Just didn't flesh out characters, just didn't flesh out motivations, and you left so many points shallow. So many points. Now, I want to do a video, guys, on what Final Fantasy 15 did right. There was a lot of beautiful moments. I'm just thinking of when they were eating canned food around the campfire because Ignis had just gone blind. And man, they could team me up. There were beautiful moments in 15, okay? But there were definitely areas it fell down. And this, you saying that certain areas like that fell down, you could have done that on purpose. And you purposely didn't want to go into explaining that. I can't believe it. I don't think it's true. I think Tabata has somehow got himself confused, or he's meaning something else, like I said, the other option. Because why would they be adding Ravus' motivations back in now as a free cutscene? Why? If time constraints weren't an issue, why wouldn't they have done it? Why would they be doing it now after the game's come out? There has to be loads of areas that they've said. Tabata himself has said that they want to flesh out parts of the story. So to say that he didn't flesh out parts of the story on purpose, I don't think that's true. I genuinely think what he means when he says this is that they didn't have anything created that they purposely pulled out. But then again, that's not fucking true because the Luna scene. I literally have no fucking clue anymore what this means. I'm actually going to call on the Final Fantasy Peasant fan base for this. I need you guys in the comment section to tell me what this means because I'm literally floundering as to what he means here. So let me know in the comment section below. What the fuck is going on? And that's the first time I've ever said that because this is just bizarre. This is baffling.